In the ruins of Gaza, Donald Trump sees an opportunity to rebuild bigger and better.
The Riviera of the Middle East. This could be so magnificent. The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip.
In a joint address with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, he outlined the beginnings of a plan.
I've studied this very closely over a lot of months, and I've seen it from every different angle.
Which would involve relocating all of the roughly 2 million Palestinians out of Gaza.
A symbol of death and destruction for so many decades.
Housing them in another country, maybe several countries.
It could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 12. It could be numerous sites, or it could be one large site.
And then, while they're gone, rebuilding and transforming the Gaza Strip into something completely different.
We're going to take over that piece, and we're going to develop it, create thousands and thousands of jobs.
Now, as Trump has often done with all of his expansionist plans.
But we need Greenland for national security purposes. Panama Canal is vital to our country. I'd like to see Canada become our 51st state.
He provided no details about how any of this would work, how the U.S. would swoop in to what is perhaps the world's most complex geopolitical conflict, transforming it into
an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area.
But if this plan is more than just Trump taking a maximalist position now in order to secure something smaller in the future, if it is more than just a negotiating tactic, more than just bluster, more than just a distraction, then the entire U.S. administration will have to contend with a whole series of complications that make this simple idea
we will restore calm and stability to the region
into an absolutely colossal undertaking. And I'm going to explain why.
Ladies and gentlemen, all this in just 2 weeks. Can we imagine where we'll be in 4 years?
The foundation of Trump's position that the U.S. should own Gaza is that Gaza, in its current state, is unlivable.
It's been very unlucky. It's been an unlucky place for a long time. It's right now a demolition site. This is just a demolition site.
To some extent, he's right. After Hamas launched the deadliest attack on Israel in its history on October 7th, 2023, killing well over 1,000 people and kidnapping hundreds more, Israel responded with a more than year-long campaign, killing tens of thousands of Palestinians, and according to the United Nations, damaging or destroying most of Gaza's infrastructure, and about 92% of homes. This has forced nearly all of the area's 2 million Palestinians to flee, often multiple times. Gaza has indeed been made virtually unlivable. Humanitarian aid for most of the war was heavily controlled and restricted by Israel to well below what the UN said was necessary to meet the basic needs of Palestinians.
Groups that we've spoken to, such as Oxfam and UNICEF, say 100% of the children in Gaza now are not getting enough food to eat.
But Trump's claim that
the only reason the Palestinians want to go back to Gaza is they have no alternative.
This is wrong.
We are living in our country, in our state, in our land, and we will not leave forever.
خلص فيش شهانة بدنا نموت في فلسطين فلسطين. هذه أرضنا هذه بلدنا هذه حياتنا.
If there is this colonial mindset of occupying, switching the occupation from Israeli occupation to American occupation is just ridiculous.
Palestinians claim Gaza as part of a future homeland. Their existence there is something Israelis and Palestinians have fought over in one way or another for more than a century. Trump's belief that Palestinians would, as a collective, simply agree to leave?
To be clear, you're saying they'd be thrilled.
It's very dangerous.
They'd be thrilled to leave Gaza?
Oh, I think they'd love to leave Gaza if they had an option.
This is, of course, a very shocking pronouncement because Palestinian history is punctuated by difficult periods of displacement dating back 75 years. And this animates very deep fears that Palestinians won't be able to return to their land.
It is their home. Many of these people are already the descendants of Palestinians displaced in the 1948 war surrounding the creation of Israel. So this is hugely emotive for them.
There's also a logistical problem with assuming Palestinians would willfully leave their land. Where would they go?
I can tell you, I spoke to other leaders of countries in the Middle East, and they love the idea. They say it would really bring stability.
I don't know who Trump spoke to, so it's not clear to me which countries he believes would accept 2 million Palestinian refugees. But Arab nations have long rejected this idea of forcibly displacing Palestinians from Gaza. Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Egypt, they've all issued statements rejecting Trump's plan.
Certainly for the two most important countries, Jordan and Egypt, neither is in the economic position to absorb them. In terms of their political stability, an agreement to be in any way perceived as complicit in the forced dislocation of Palestinians could amount to, suicide.
Now, Trump may have ways to get those countries on side.
I have a feeling that despite them saying no, I have a feeling that the king in Jordan and that the general in Egypt will open their hearts and will give us the kind of land that we need to get this done.
But again, no details, no explanation of how any of this would work, or how Trump would navigate the legal problem with what he's proposing, because the forcible relocation of Palestinians in this case would very likely be a violation of international law. Article 49 of the Geneva Convention expressly forbids this, though Trump may have already considered this too.
According to international law, no, they cannot do this, but the question then becomes is what nation or nations would actually interfere and step in, get in the way, prevent this from happening. If it does receive the backing of the Saudis and let's say the UAE, possibly even Qatar, it's difficult to see where this opposition would come from in a way that would actually prevent the United States from moving forward.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings.
Trump was pretty clear that his plan for enduring peace in Gaza revolves around U.S. ownership of Gaza. But he was unclear how you actually go about doing that.
You are talking tonight about the United States taking over a sovereign territory. What authority would allow you to do that? Are you talking about a permanent occupation there?
I do see a long-term ownership position, and I see it bringing great stability to that part of the Middle East and maybe the entire Middle East.
The problem is that there's no way, or let me restate that, there's no legal way of simply taking over someone else's territory. And I should point out, even with Israel's prime minister as a partner,
I think it's something that could change history, and it's worthwhile really pursuing this avenue.
Gaza, according to international law, is not Israel's to give. The International Court of Justice ruled last year that the Palestinian territories constitute one political unit. And though Israel disputes this, the ICJ says Israel's occupation since 1967, the longest military occupation in modern history, is illegal.
It's beyond the realm of the possible that Hamas would agree to a scenario in which all Palestinians are dislocated from Gaza and then another country takes responsibility for developing it.
Countries often disagree about who owns what. Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014 is an example of an act most of the world does consider illegal, but Russia sure doesn't. And in the case of recognizing a sovereign state of Palestine, most of the UN does, but the US does not.
You could see Security Council meetings and resolutions passed to condemn this, but again, with the veto power the US has, there's not much that could happen.
Then there's the question of how far the US might be willing to go to make this plan happen.
Mr. President, given what you've said about Gaza, did the US send troops to help secure the security vacuum?
As far as Gaza is concerned, we'll do what is necessary. If it's necessary, we'll do that.
Donald Trump would not rule out sending U.S. soldiers to Gaza, where they might face a whole range of risks.
They would have to use force in order to eject the Palestinians. It's over 2 million people, and Hamas retains sufficient resources where they could resist. So there are going to be American casualties. There are going to be Americans involved in messy situations in which Palestinian civilians are killed.
Now, less than a day after Trump's comments, the White House press secretary would try to walk his statements back.
The president has not committed to putting boots on the ground in Gaza. He has also said that the United States is not going to pay for the rebuilding of Gaza. His administration is going to work with our partners in the region to reconstruct this region.
But for Trump, this is both a brand of promise that we've heard before.
We're going to build the wall. Mexico's going to pay for the wall.
And also something that would cost billions of dollars, no matter who pays.
Well, the UN is estimating that it would cost about $1.5 billion to just remove the rubble. It would cost about $80 billion to reconstruct the homes and the infrastructure, hospitals, universities, education, over a 10-year period.
I don't foresee economic support coming from Arab states, which means the United States will be left with the bill.
And we haven't even gotten to the question of what Trump's ideal Gaza even looks like. He says it would be open to the world.
I envision a world, people living there, the world's people. I think you'll make that into an international, unbelievable place, and there'll be jobs for everyone, not for a specific group of people, but for everybody.
Palestinians, Trump says, would be welcome, but he also seemed to suggest quite clearly this place would not be theirs. If this place even ever comes to exist at all. Like I said at the start, it's often not clear which of Trump's proposals to take seriously, because he often doesn't provide the kind of detail that would make them serious proposals. But between reclaiming the Panama Canal, annexing Greenland and Canada, and now announcing a plan to claim US ownership over Gaza itself, this is a president who is changing the international rules of engagement in real time. And world leaders of all stripes will be watching.